Alrighty, hello, and welcome to another edition of Earthshield. I'm here with Lollipop, who is one of the best healers, pretty much, just in probably the 8th best guild in the world, in Blood Legion on US Illidan. I'm here just pretty much interviewing her on her just feats as a healer, and in general, just being an awesome player. Now, say hello.
Hey,
Yep, so
thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
yeah, alright, now, you are on the guild Blood Legion US. Now, they're ranked very high in the world, and have you got any notable world first kills or US first kills?
Well, that's hard because I don't have that in front of me because I kind of forgotten about it over the years. We got World First Brutalis and Sunwell. We got World First Lich King overall kill. Not heroic or anything. We got several US first throughout, everywhere from like Algalon to Trial of the Grand Crusader. We finished first in the US. But basically, we've always been top 20 world guild. In the past like 2 years, we've been pretty consistently top 10 world. I'm really proud to be part of a guild that has like such a strong history. Pretty much like our worst performance ever was like original Naxxramas, where we were like 40th, but we were second US Horde because Horde was a different ball game back then.
Yes, definitely. Now, I was just wondering, what are your actual, like, with your times for raids? I know that Blood Legion, since it's a hardcore guild, be very hard just to kind of make all your times. Like, what is your current rating during progression? Like, what times do you do?
It's actually not that much different from other guilds. We do like the typical Sunday through Thursday. We do 7 to 12 a.m. Central, and then we also try to keep Friday as an option during progression if we feel like we're pretty close on a boss. It's hard to say that Friday's a raid day though, because we've never consistently raided then. It's always been like an extra day. But if you like look at our recruitment stuff, we say that we do raid Friday because we want people to be kind of like prepared and on the same page and ready to go.
Yep. Like, in your actual progression raiding, have there been times for you that you've been like, I don't want to raid today, like, ugh, like, does everyone else get that, and do you personally get that, and how do you actually overcome that as well?
I definitely get that sometimes. Like a lot of times, it's like if we're on a really difficult fight that, like, to me that's fun. I love being on a really difficult fight, but like if everyone else has the attitude of like, this is mathematically impossible, we can't kill this, or like something like that, like that's like the most frustrating position for me to be in. And I mean, there really isn't like a great solution to it other than like I'm generally a kind of patient person who doesn't get super angry easily or anything like that. So I just kind of like power through it and, you know, try to keep people motivated, keep things positive, and kind of focus on killing the boss and seeing what I personally can do to help achieve that.
Yeah, well, speaking on that subject, raiding burnouts, I'm just wondering, do you guys get them often since you're in obviously a super high-end guild, and also, has there been any bosses in this expansion that have been like a kind of a burnout killer to people?
We definitely do get burnout. It's usually not the way that other guilds kind of think it happens. Like, so like even in the history of Blood Legion, we've had like I think 3 or 4 people ever in the history since Vanilla who have like left Blood Legion to go join another guild after they've made member. Usually most of our members, like if they are gonna burn out or quit, they either like don't make it through the trial for whatever reason, or they quit shortly after the trial. Most people who, you know, like make it like a month or two past their trial are here for 1 to 2 years typically. Like we have the majority of our members have been here over a year, which is fantastic. Like in reality, we kind of have a low burnout rate. And I would say like in the current content, we didn't actually have anybody quit the game or retire. I don't believe during our content, but the burnout boss for us was definitely Atramedes because there was so much controversy and people were killing it using an exploit, or like arguably an exploit of like standing outside the room, and then there was another exploit where you could kill him by just like having him be stunned in place. And for us that created, you know, like a huge moral dilemma of like, shit, you know, we're losing rankings because we don't want to exploit a boss, but you know, like you know, like is the fact that everyone else is exploiting it and not acting like it's a big deal mean that that's just the accepted strategy at this point, kind of thing. So that was kind of like a source of a lot of internal turmoil and drama and difficult decisions, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Just one other, a couple more questions. With on that thing about exploits, what is your position on Paragon's class stacking? How they got 13 feral druids and ruffle stomped Nefarian on heroic? Like, do you believe that they should have maybe got some ban over that? Because I know this has been a very hot issue since they hot fixed it right afterwards. Like, do you reckon that was a bad move by Blizzard or what?
Like, I mean, I reckon that the fight definitely wasn't tuned the way it should have been for something like that to happen. At the same time, like, if it's just like mainly a matter of like stacking an excessive number of a certain class to kind of like cheese a mechanic, like I don't really view that as an exploit, although like I kind of dislike that too. Like traditionally, like in the last kind of bosses, it's always been super beneficial to stack warlocks. So like with Yogg Zero and Wrath of the Lich King, and then the Lich King and ICC, like warlocks were like a super stacking class, and like Blood Legion had an issue where we just didn't have warlocks then, and like part of it is like people are frustrated because they're like, man, if only we had like 5 or 6 warlocks, this would be so easy. But we've learned that it's one thing to kind of focus on composition to the point where it's kind of like a flaw. Like at some point, assuming the fight is reasonable, you should be able to kill it with any comp, and it doesn't seem like Nefarian was really at that point at the time. Like, but I don't really consider what Paragon did to be exploiting.
Yep, alrighty. And also, what is your favorite boss during this whole tier of content, and what is your favorite boss in the whole history of World of Warcraft?
Oh, that's hard. My favorite boss this tier, it's hard. And when we did normal modes, my favorite boss was Council, definitely. When we did hard modes, my favorite boss was Cho'Gall, just because when we did it, I was playing Discipline for that, which is a spec that I don't really play that often, and I had like lots of roles that I had to do. Like we had our mages transforming, and the disc priests had to babysit them, and then like we had an elaborate like cooldown rotation, and I had to knock people out of mind controls and dispel them and stuff like that. So I really like Cho'Gall when we we're doing progression to kind of be like the most challenging role for me at the time, so that actually made it the most fun. Now that we've had things on farm again, I still totally think that Council is the best fight overall.
Yeah, fair enough. I personally did Ascendant Council Heroic, and that fight's a bit of a pain for me, but yeah. Righty, now. So when you started World of Warcraft, like obviously you played in vanilla, since but like how hard was it for you to like break it into the best guild in the world? Because most people don't really just eventually just hop into the world 8th best guild in the world. So yeah, like how did you break it in?
I actually think it's more, people tend to be more intimidated by like applying to higher end guilds than maybe they should be, because they kind of feel like, hey, I don't have that crazy top 20 top 50 guild experience, like they aren't going to accept me because I don't have connections or whatever. And that's really not the case. Like I do all of Blood Legion's recruitment, and we're really looking kind of for like the diamond in the rough, the person who kind of like approaches the game with the right attitude, and like has the right skill set and has a reasonable amount of experience, that it's not going to be a horrible transition. And that's kind of like the person that we want to recruit. We don't necessarily like want to poach people from other top end guilds, because those people are probably already as good as they're going to be, or are relatively close to it. What I kind of did, it's interesting because I re-rolled to PvP servers, because you couldn't transfer between the two in the beginning of Burning Crusade, and as soon as I hit level 80 or 70 or shit, what expansion is it? 70. I transferred to Illidan because it was the best server, and I wanted to kind of like be in a place and where I could find good guilds, and I was in one guild for like a month, and they broke up, and then I was in another guild, and both guilds just kind of recruited me out of Orgrimmar, or out of approaching me in a city. And then from there I just focused on being the best kind of player I could be in the guild and playing my class to the best ability of its ability. And kind of like in almost every guild that I've been in, I've either like been an officer or been offered an officership position in some kind of regard. So I think like focusing on contributing to the team, focusing on it as a team kind of sport, and seeing what you can do to min-max your character are the things that you need to do to get kind of the experience to approach that kind of level.
Yeah, it's incredibly enlightening actually, because I've always wanted to be in one of those top end guilds. But anyway, probably the final question is, what's kind of a message you would be to people who would like to be in one of those top end guilds, and just like how can they become as as good as like possibly you or anyone in Blood Legion or any of the top guilds?
I think like the best thing to do is to kind of be Socratic. By that I mean like constantly ask yourself why you're doing the things that you're doing, why you're making decisions. So like as a healer, like why did you decide that that was the best heal to use at the time? How can you improve it in the future, etc. I would also say like don't look up to people. Maybe as much as it might seem like it would be fun or easy to do, like don't look up to Lollipop of Blood Legion as being like some untouchable awesome healer. Think of them as a peer first and kind of work from what you can learn from other healers and other players, and try to kind of like iterate out on that yourself and improve your gameplay that way. So much of it is having it's easy to put in a right amount of effort. Like anybody can put in effort, but very few people can kind of put in effort and have the right mindset with the effort that they put in to kind of achieve the right results to be in a top end guild. And if you're questioning like am I good enough to apply to a top end guild, like really the question is like with your current gear, can you be competitive? Can you be reasonably competitive in their raid? If the answer is yes, then and do you have like a reasonable amount of hard modes? Like, are you going to be going in and learning 100% of their fights as new fights to you? Because you've only done normal modes? Like, that might be like an extreme situation where it's going to be difficult to kind of blend in and immediately start playing awesomely. Because a lot of times we recruited people who we think might be good enough or like need a little bit more time to develop, or like we get really good apps from really inexperienced players, and it's like, man, this person seems really good, they just need a little bit more perspective, and they need to go join like a guild, kind of like a mid-grade guild that's maybe like, now I would say a mid-grade guild is like 5 of 13, 7 of 13, somewhere in there, first, and kind of like get a little bit of experience and get some perspective on like how to approach different fights. But that said, we've definitely also recruited people who came from like 1,000-something ranked guilds. Maybe my favorite story of this is when we recruited this priest that we now have in Blood Legion, First Aid Spec, who was kind of like a little forum troll. He would like go on elitist jerks and post like theories and things that he wanted, and he really felt back in Wrath of the Lich King that priests should be sparing renew, before that was like something that priests would consider doing and stuff like that. And he was totally wrong at the time, because the gear wasn't really there, and that the way that the fights were set up, like that just didn't really make sense for healing hard modes. But I saw so much potential in kind of like the way that he approached thinking about how he should play the game, and the way that he like uninhibited by like other people's opinions and what the standards may have been at the time, that I definitely like really wanted to recruit this guy. And he's been with Blood Legion for like probably around 2.5 years now, and he's a fantastic player.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being here as well. Yes, well, thank you, and I guess we'll probably wrap this up now anyway, but is there any other final questions you'd like to, or just anything really you want to check out to the audience?
Nothing really, other than just remember that if you're trying to improve as a player, that you should think of top-end players as peers rather than superiors, and think critically and decide what you want to do with your character and stuff like that. And if you want to play to Blood Legion, we're recruiting lots of things. Go to bloodlegion.com.
Yep, I'll be putting that in the link description below anyway. So thank you for your time, and we'll see you next time.